Episode 61B, Fort Jackson and Cops. After I did my 8 weeks basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, I was assigned to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for heavy weapons infantry training. While at home on leave, I arranged a ride to Columbia, South Carolina with a Dorchester guy named McLaughlin and 4 other local Boston guys I knew from basic training. 4 of us, Ray L., Butch Morrison, Ed Munier, and I, chipped in for gas, etc., to pay McLaughlin to get there. We left on a Thursday. Everyone except McLaughlin was assigned to the same company and were scheduled to arrive at Fort Jackson by 6 a.m. reveille on the following Monday. We shared the driving and had no problem traveling to Columbia. We arrived in Columbia late Saturday. McLaughlin traveled on, but we got 2 cheap rooms in a rooming house. I bunked with Morrison. Munier and Ray L. bunked together. We decided we would stay 2 nights and get up early Monday to be at the post on time. We were tired and only went out for a few hours on Saturday, walked around town, had a few beers, and went back to the room to sleep. The next day was Sunday, and we went sightseeing. Jim Crow was still extant in the South in 1960s, so whites-only signs were prominent on public water bubblers in restaurant windows, bathrooms, lunch counters, at Woolworth stores, and everything else. We were shocked by the obvious racial prejudice. Bostonians were not without some negative feelings about blacks, some of us more than others, but the 4 of us all agreed the racial situation was abominable. Aware of my own family's discrimination by Yankees in the recent past, I was against such bias. On Sunday evening, all of us except Morrison went downtown to something that used to be called a penny arcade. They had an assortment of game machines, it was like an arcade. Games like pinball, shuffleboard, billiards, and other electric games had moving lights and were available to play for a price. The place had a restricted entrance with entry and exit turnstiles and an entrance fee at the counter where tickets to play the machine were purchased. It was a big place with many games, and there were ticket takers scattered around the joint. There were also, for lack of a better word, B-girls, attractive and young, encouraging the customers, all men, probably all military, to buy more tickets as well as sodas, snacks, condoms, and other doodads at high prices. These women were scantily dressed and touchy-feely with the guys. There was no booze in this joint, and some of us were underage anyway. I had seen real B-girls at nightclubs in Boston, but never saw this Pepsi version before. We had been in a few bars before we arrived, so we were feeling a little tipsy. Ray L., especially, was more than a little drunk and mean. He had a real chip on his shoulder for women in general, and he and I had problems in the past. He considered me his enemy. I was another aggressive and loud Boston Mick and had competed with him for a few soft jobs at Fort Dix. He was friendly toward flunkies, but not toward rivals such as myself. It was now about 8 p.m. and dark. Some of our crew were enjoying themselves making moves at the machines and on the B-girls, but Ray L. was not having a good time. He was being loud and profane in his language and exasperating to his friends. When a B-girl would approach asking him to play a game with her or buy her something, he would rail at her, cursing and calling her names. Even when they stayed away from him, he would walk toward them and start haranguing them, calling them fucking whores, sluts, etc. The owner-manager warned Ray 2 or 3 times. We warned him also, but Ray L. was beyond reason. Columbia was a military town, and brawls were a regular thing, especially downtown. Police patrolled the area heavily. They expected trouble. Eventually, the inevitable happened, and Ray L. punched the B-girl without provocation as far as I could see. Then everything seemed to speed up. The B-girls were screaming, Ray L. was attacking the owner, the injured B-girl was on the floor bleeding from her nose. The owner's wife must have called the cops, and we were trying to get out of there and take Ray L. with us. Just then, 2 or 3 cops rushed in and sealed the only way in or out. The owner identified us, and the cops sequestered all of us but Ray L. to a place near the ticket counter where another cop kept us loosely corralled. No names or IDs were taken at that time. The glass door entrance and freedom was near, just past the turnstiles, a mere 7 feet away. Ray L. continued to be loud and profane, challenging the cops at the other end of the den of iniquity. We heard them calling for a paddy wagon. It looked like we were all to be arrested. I had been in trouble with the Cambridge and Boston gendarmes many times in my young life. The last time, a few months before, a Middlesex County judge, Joseph Viola, cut me a big break by letting me enlist in the Army instead of doing time in the county slammer. If I could keep my nose clean, the charges would be dropped in a year. I was panicked that this arrest would send me to jail when I got home. I watched closely while Ray Els was screwing up his life and possibly mine. Once in a while, our guarding cop would move to aid the others trying to subdue Ray L., leaving us unguarded for a moment. I timed his moves and at exactly the right time bounded over the turnstile, out the entrance, down the main street, hearing the paddy wagon siren as I escaped. I ran down a side street, down many dark urban alleys. After a long run, around midnight, I climbed up on a low, dark industrial building and hid for an hour. Then I crept back to my room we had rented. I woke up the sleeping Morrison and relayed the bad news. He was younger than the rest of us and was really scared by the arrest. With no good results, we called the police about our comrades from a payphone. The next morning, Morrison and I took the short bus trip to Fort Jackson and checked in early to our new company. We brought Munier's and Ray L's duffel bags with us. After falling in, we was listening to the initial orders, regulations, warnings, and threats of doom from our sergeant when an MP paddy wagon arrived. Two bedraggled, dirty men in civvies limped off, Ray L. and Munier. While they were checking in, I was chosen as platoon guide by the platoon sergeant. That meant I had the much-desired job of being the boss of all the grunts in the platoon. The position provided me with a private room, single bed, and other amenities. Everyone else slept in bunk beds with very little room in between. Some hours later, Ray Munier joined us at one of our classroom training sessions, clean and in uniform. They told us that they spent a sleepless night in a dirty, drunk tank with loud and dangerous companions. Later, a judge let them loose in the custody of the Fort Jackson Military Police. Ray L. was very unhappy he was not chosen platoon guide and later ratted me out, causing me to lose my favorite position. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and or refer a friend who might be interested in this Old Boston podcast series. Again, my thanks.